Hey y'all. I just thought I'd come on here for a moment, talk about something that's kind of out there. Now, I've talked about jumping timelines before, and I've also talked about the algorithm of life. Um, and the universe today was really like pulled these two ideas together into one unified thing and said, you need to go on and chat about this. So, we're going to go way out there today, beyond the scope of my usual, oh, let's all forgive and let's be nice and all that kind of stuff. Now, that's all well and good. I'm still that. I'm still that, y'all. But they pulled these two ideas together for me in a way that I definitely feel like someone who's watching this will get some benefit from. Because if it benefited me, it will benefit someone else. Hi, Carolyn. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Um, so I've spoken in the past about the algorithm of our life, and I'm seeing a lot of people here on Facebook and in my regular life. Not that I see very many people in my regular life anymore, but, or ever did, by the way. Um, so I'm seeing a lot of people who are struggling with the amount of information that is coming into them, with the amount of anger that is coming to them in their online exploration or their day-to-day life. I'm seeing a lot of people that are being overwhelmed by seeing so many different conflicting versions of truth and all of these sort of things. And we all know that there are multiple versions of reality out there that people are living. Um, and if you don't know that, we're going to get into it in just a minute. So I'm seeing, but while I can see these different versions, I'm not being personally affected by them. And that's not just because I work a lot on not letting, things trigger me. Hi, Jean, how you doing? I think that it's the vibration and the timeline that I'm living on. So we're going to go deep on this. And if you're not familiar with sci-fi style stuff, I'm not a physicist, okay? I'm just going by what the universe has kind of put forth to me and what I've, what it's wanting me to. So if you're one of those people who feels overwhelmed, if you're one of those people who sees too many versions of the truth, if you're having some problems dealing with this would be the video for you to watch. And if you live in one of these versions of truth, if you live in one of these belief systems of uh, nefarious deeds, um, governmental cover ups, underground cabals, or none of that is true. If you live in any of these areas, anywhere that you are, any of these realities that you're living in, this is a good one for you to watch just to expand your version of reality. Okay. So I've talked before, I did an entire show about life in the Google bubble. And what I had discussed on that show is if we're on Facebook, if we're on Google, we all know that we have traded part of our privacy for convenience, right? So if we are liking things on Facebook or even angry facing things on Facebook, we will see more of that because Facebook doesn't discriminate between an angry face and a sad face or a happy face, if or a mean comment or a happy comment. If you interact with something, then Facebook gives you more of that, right? So if you are angrily countering people or even in a nice way saying we should be spreading love and light, but on a post that has a more conspiratorial tone, Facebook will show you more from that source. Okay, just like with Google, if you search for dog food, then you're going to get dog food ad after dog food ad, and then here's a bowl to put your dog food in, and here's a bed for your dog. And we have traded part of our privacy for this convenience, but Google will continue to show us the things we show interest in. For news, if you only read stories from right wing or more conspiratorial or left wing or more liberal. If you only read news from those particular sources, those are the only ones that Google will source for you. So you'll only see a news feed that's filled with news from that source or news from this viewpoint, because they think that's what you like. Now, we all kind of know this in some way. If you don't know this, that is the truth. If you only read one type of news, if you only look for one type of thing, you only comment on one type of post, you will see more of it. Even if you hate it, you will see more of it. So now our lives are very much like that. What we focus on grows. What we focus on expands. What we focus on, we see more of. And so when you focus on the division, when you focus on anger, when you focus on slow drivers, when you focus on how annoyed you are, you see more of that. The universe gives you more. It brings you more of what you're focusing on, right? So the universe works very much like the Google algorithm. And even if what you are doing is standing up for injustice, if you see injustice and that's what you're focusing on is the injustice portion of it, the universe will bring you more injustice to look at, because it says, oh, you want to focus on seeing that portion? Okay, here's more, here's more, here's more. If you want to focus on the timeline of, or the belief that, I don't know, bananas are taking over the world, then you will start to be shown evidence that bananas are taking over the world, because that is what you are focusing on. And the universe tries to give you evidence of that based on your own belief system, true or not, because the universe wants us to overcome that belief system. Hi, Kelly. The universe wants us to overcome our incorrect core beliefs. That's how the system is set up. Okay. So if you think that you're ugly, you will be surrounded by people who reinforce that, or who tell you that you're beautiful, so that you will continue to think that you are ugly. It's a strange thing, but we often will purposefully think the opposite, or unconsciously think the opposite of what people are saying to us. So let's get into jumping timelines. That's the algorithm side. So what we focus on, we see more of. What we pay attention to, we see more of. Okay. So now let's jump over to the timeline. Let's jump over to the timeline thing. So if you are familiar with the concept of a multiverse, then there is a theory in physics that every decision that we make creates a new timeline. Okay. And somewhere dimensionally, we're stacked on top of each other. A version of you is living the life that decision, turning left, took you down. And another one turned right and is living that timeline. And one of the things that I say when I'm talking to people and to myself is that something that comes in your head quickly, some sort of happy ending or like a business idea, something that comes very easily, means that on some timeline you've already achieved that happily ever after, or that, accomplishment that you wanted to accomplish. If it comes easily to your mind, at some point on some timeline, you have already done that, right? If it comes more difficult, you're probably first timeline doing that. Okay. So each one of the timelines vibrates at a different frequency, right? Our thoughts, our emotions, our energy creates frequency. The sound, the level of connection to the universe creates frequency, okay? So when we change our mindset, when we change our words, when we shift our own behavior and our own perception, we shift our frequency and we jump a timeline. And I believe that we are jumping timelines as our moods change sometimes. So Now, how are we going to tie this into this over here that what we think more about, we attract, right? Lee, you're crazy. I did put in the top of this, it's jumping timelines and we're going way out there. Okay. So when we are feeling negative, when we are feeling crappy, when we are down on ourselves, when we have this in our heads, we jump timelines to a timeline where that's normal for us and where that leads us down a path of attracting more, if you want to call it negative, or more things that we don't really want, even though it's our thoughts that are attracting this, right? Whereas if we are keeping our vibration high, if we are thinking of love, if we are living through unconditional love, if we are forgiving people, if we are having empathy for the anger that other people exhibit, we jump into another timeline that leads us down a different path where our focus is more in that line of life, in that line of unconditional love, and seeing more peace and seeing, the things that our journey, what we're supposed to be learning and whatnot, and we take a different path. So if we combine these two situations of what we focus on, we see more of, and jumping timelines, right? Then what you focus on will help you to jump timelines into a timeline that leads to an outcome that would be pleasant and positive and allow you to accomplish things and to see the world in a different way. So when we talk about shifting our perspective and embracing empathy for people who are reacting out of fear and people who are living in a space of anger at injustice, and that's not to say that we shouldn't be angry about injustice. Of course we should. But how we react to that is what is determining what timeline we are living on. It is our reaction that is the most important. See, because the universe is doing what it's doing, right? And if I'm affecting me, I'm affecting my emotions, then how I react to what the universe is doing and to how other people are doing is what is shifting me into a different perspective, is what is adjusting the frequency that I'm putting out, and which is helping me to jump a timeline. When I jump a timeline that is more grounded in unconditional love, then I see more of that. Do you see what I'm saying? So I can still look at these spaces, these versions of reality, and see them, and whether I doubt them or don't doubt them, whether I believe them or not believe them, it is the way that I'm reacting to them that makes all the difference. It's the way that I'm reacting emotionally to them that makes all the difference in what happens next in my life. And of course, the way that I react to them has to do with the stuff that I'm still holding on to, the pain from my past that I'm still processing, the things that I haven't fully been able to overcome yet on my own journey of self-awareness, self-love, and healing, right? So some people react more to one version of reality than they do to another, but they get so blinded in their protesting for good, or their I need to tell everyone, or their I'm going to tell you that you're stupid because you don't believe the way that I believe. They get so tied up in that because it gives them a sense of control. Hi, Nori. Hi, Lisa. It gives them a sense of control in a space where they feel helpless and hopeless, right? And so they react to that in anger. It is how we react to what is going on and the information that is going on that allows us to see a different version of reality, because we're attracting a different version of reality, which jumps us into a different timeline that vibrates differently. And I'm not saying that these different versions of reality, that these different theories and conspiracy theories and alternative, facts and all that kind of stuff, these are seeds. These are seeds that are planted for all of us right now. These are seeds that are planted in the main reality, the shared reality that all the multiple dimensions have. Okay? There is a version of reality where, don't jump down my throat, where Hillary Clinton won the election. And as soon as this happened overseas, we shut down the whole country for 4 weeks We tested everyone. We had drive-through testing like South Korea did, and we're already all back to work and everything is good. They put a freeze on mortgages and everything was fine. Now, 3 months later, we're all good. Everything's wonderful, and it was a terrible thing. And yes, a lot of people died, but we were able to contain it, and we moved through it. There is a timeline where that is a reality, a multiple dimension layered on there, right? Who knows? Who knows what that would have been like? So all of these, there's a main seed planted with this pandemic. And then there are other little seeds planted of evil. Now we'll call it evil because that's what people respond to. When you label something evil, people immediately, oh, we're going to fight evil. It gives us a purpose beyond looking at our own stuff when we're fighting evil. I did a show the other day about the duality of do-gooding. Every major villain has thought that they were saving the world. Every major villain had thought that what they were doing was going to save people, lift them up out of the whatever lives they thought they were having. Christians who protest at Planned Parenthood think they're saving people. Thanos thought he was saving the universe by snapping his fingers. And for some planets, he did. For some planets, he brought peace and prosperity because there was enough resources for everyone. So this is that double-edged duality, that this base thing that's happening, this pandemic, and these alternative theories that are out there, I don't even want to say the names of them, but you guys know what they are. Each of those is a seed that's planted. And in some versions of reality, they grow until they become real. There's a book from Neil Gaiman, and Gaiman, and they made it into a series on Stars called American Gods. And one of the theories that is put forth in this, that I had actually written a treatment for a comedy movie about years ago, was that the old gods fade away because they aren't being worshipped anymore, and so they no longer have the power to be manifested by the followers, right? And so these old gods like Easter, Ostara, and Ra, and who else? I don't know, whatever, Apollo, their power fades because people no longer worship them. And when Jesus came up as the new representation of unconditional love, because a lot of people started worshiping him, Christianity was on the rise. See? So if we think about this situation in those terms of giving something energy and it becomes more real, these seeds that were planted by the you-know-who people over here who believe in the Luciferian pedophilia rings, and the people over here who think we're going to get injected with nanobots and controlled to be slaves, and the people over here who think that we're being run by reptilian aliens who are waiting to harvest us and eat us, along with all of the other things. Now, I'm not saying any of those are wrong or right. I have no freaking clue, okay? But each one of those is a seed. And the people who believe in that make it even more real, expand it beyond the reach of one or two people who are making it up, or one or two people who have this little bit of knowledge. They're seeds that grow when we water them. And because we are watering so many of these seeds in this time where people feel helpless. See, when you feel helpless and hopeless and you are in fear, some people react in anger. Right? Some people react in anger immediately to fear because it's fight or flight. And some of us hid. Some of us went, okay, we're going to, do what we need to do to stay away from this. And some fight. Both are fear-based responses. And both create a new timeline that then becomes their version of reality. See, because what they're paying attention to, what they're giving energy to, is growing. So let's talk for just a minute about likening this to real life. It sounds out there, right? But First, I want you to think about what a poltergeist is. Okay. So we've all seen the movie Poltergeist. A poltergeist is literally an energy that is fed by the turmoil of a person, right? By the turmoil that a person is going through, by the pain that they have, by whatever they are experiencing in their mind that they are not processing and that they are shoving down. And people who have kind of a little bit of a magical spark then send this outward and create an actual thing that will move stuff and throw stuff and do things in their house. When really it's a version of them that they have pushed out there and it is causing chaos, right? That's an example of feeding something, feeding an energy that brings it into the material world where we are. So now I want all of you, no matter where you stand on these alternative realities, on your version of reality, no matter what it is, I want you to think of someone in your life that you know fairly well who believes one of these other theories. So if you are in the nanobot theory, believing theory, then I want you to think of someone who believes something different than you. If you are in the Luciferian, I want you to think of someone who believes differently than you, okay? And I just want you to put them in your mind for a minute. Do they seem like different people? Like literally, do they feel different to you when you have conversation with them? Does it look like a stranger when they start writing about this thing that they're passionate about? Are you kind of shocked that you thought that you knew them, but maybe you didn't? Are you feeling that about some of the people that you know? So in this, what the universe is giving, they have jumped a timeline. They have jumped a timeline. So it doesn't only affect what they see around them, but it affects who they are becoming. Okay? It affects who they are becoming. Or maybe it's you that's jumped a timeline into a different vibration of unconditional love, into a different vibration of empathy, into a different vibration of understanding and compassion for that fear-based response, for the way that they reacted to the seeds that were planted. And I know it's kind of like everything is interwoven, but that is the beauty of the universe. That is the beautiful, complicated, absolutely amazing, choreographed and yet not choreographed magnificence of this life that we are living. What you pay attention to will grow. What you give power to will change how you move through this world, will change your emotions and the way that you react to things. And right now, with these seeds that have been planted on the base reality that we all live in, these timelines, these different timelines are getting so much power and so much real, right? That they're starting to leak into the other timelines. See, all this conspiracy theory, or fact stuff is nothing new. It's been around since the early 2000s, okay? It's nothing new. They've been talking about, oh, they're going to set this off. They're going to do that. This has been around for a minute. This has been around for a minute. Hi, Leah. But most people just brushed it aside. Most people didn't pay attention. Most people weren't really giving it that much energy. So while it still may have been happening, there might be underground bases where aliens are creating stuff. While this stuff could be happening, people weren't paying attention to it. And so it wasn't growing. It wasn't growing. It was only staying relevant for those people that gave it attention. But because so many people are living in this fear, right? And we're all living in fear, even those who act like they're pissed off and they're not living in fear. That in and of itself is a fear-based response. It is fight or flight. Fight or flight. So people who are angry about this are in a fight response to fear, right? And their fight response has caused them to cling on to these seeds and make them more real, grow them like a poltergeist, each of them separately and yet interwoven. And they're leaking into timelines where they aren't paid as much attention to. They're leaking into timelines in the base normal reality, in the base reality where this thing all started. And by giving it that focus, they are growing it, creating more of it, and it's leaking through into what you would call mainstream. For example, it's leaking into governmental press releases and things of that nature. And some would look at that and say, oh, that is proof that that is real. But was it real, or did we create it with the focus and the anger that was pushed at it? Jumping timelines is a very interesting phenomenon. And it is a little bit difficult to kind of wrap your mind around. But as Kelly was saying earlier, that law of attraction, what we focus on grows. And we will see more of. And if we then pull into that what we are seeing is shifting who we are, what we're doing, our own vibration, it jumps us into another timeline. So how can we use this information to help us? Those of us who are overwhelmed, those of you who are overwhelmed in this situation, who are having people that are friends, people that are family, bombard you. News bombard you. Anger bombard you. Negativity bombard you. The fight or flight. You get both. You get the ones who are in flight and in fear, and you get the ones who are in fight and angry, standing on their soapboxes. How do we, as an individual, who's just trying to get through this, what do? Stay informed without judgment, without anger, without that passion. Be the observer of all of those things that are building, without allowing anger or hurt or pain to emotionally connect you to that as a reality. Embrace empathy for those who are living in that space of fear and anger. And they won't call it fear, but it is fear. And embrace empathy for those who are admitting that they're living in fear. Science is real on every level. And while they don't know everything, there are things that are facts in all the timelines. Be discerning. Look at all the information that you can. But in this space, the lane that we must choose is unconditional love. The lane that we must choose is understanding and empathy. What we feed into grows. What we feed into grows. And again, that's not to say that bad things don't happen. Of course they do. It is our reaction to what is happening that makes all the difference. It is our reaction to what is happening that shifts our version of reality. And when you react from your place of hurt and fear and anger, that is the version of reality, that is the timeline that you will jump into. And this is why your friends look different. And this is why your friends talk differently. And this is why things seem so strange. Because the timelines used to be so much closer. And now they are expanding and leaking into each other. And if you believe that you are a light worker, if you believe that you were woken up in earlier than this to be the change, then embracing unconditional love is that change. Looking at your own reactions is that change. Being in a space of empathy for those in fear, even as you fear yourself, is that change. It is up to us to be the ones to affect the frequency of the timeline that we want to live. Because what we focus on gets stronger. What we focus on becomes reality and will begin to take over all of the timelines. So what are you focusing on? Are you focusing through anger? Are you focusing through injustice? It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. And it's a fine line, and it's a duality between standing up for what's right and focusing on those things that are horrible. It is a fine line. Only you get to choose where your line is and what you do and how you react to it. Again, because it's your reaction that makes all the difference. I know I went way out there today, y'all. But the universe really pulled at me and said, look, this is what needs to happen. If we are the ones that were brought here, not to liberate the world, not to solve wars, not to specifically stand with picket signs, because there are people who do that. Light workers work with light. Light workers work with energy. Light workers work with love. Those of us who are awakened and can affect energy with our minds are powerful. And so many of us are choosing timelines to fight in that fight or flight reaction. And of course, that's their right. It's a free will planet. It's their choice to do that. But light workers work with light. Light workers work through love. Light workers work through empathy. It's not an easy road. It's not a simple road. But if you believe that you were brought here to make a change, the change that you were awakened for is to use your own heart and your love and your kindness and your empathy to make that change, to shine that light. And if you are using anger to shine your light, then you have a very different mission. And that's not to say that that's a wrong mission. Maybe it's a right mission for you. But we all have to be aware of that. And we have to be aware of ourselves in that space, moving in that energy, and still calling ourselves light workers, bringing love, bringing change. What type of a change are you bringing with your fight response to your fear? It's interesting. The universe made sure that I talked to you guys about this. I tried to say, no, let's not do this. But I did it. I went way out there. This is the multiverse and the timelines and what you focus on. It's all your choice. It's all your choice. And each choice that you make shifts your frequency and jumps your timeline. And so what will you focus on? On your mission, on your journey in this life. All right, y'all. I'm going to go. You are beloved. You matter. You are loved.